When you think of the brief history of the Arizona Diamondbacks, one man usually comes to mind: Randy Johnson. The hulking lefty was integral to the 2001 team's World Series victory in just their fourth year of existence, and he won 4 consecutive Cy Young Awards during his tenure with the club. I think it's fairly ironic that Arizona is responsible for arguably the greatest free agent pitcher contract in the history of the sport. Because as it stands 2 decades later, this franchise has had more trouble than any other when it comes to signing starting pitchers. The franchise has developed and traded for plenty of talent along the way. Cy Young winner Brandon Webb was homegrown, a former 8th round pick. Even now, their current ace, Zack was acquired via trade with the Miami Marlins. But regardless of all of that, the 4-year, $52 million contract that Johnson signed may very well go down as the biggest bargain in the history of baseball. But despite that, the Diamondbacks have misfired on more than one occasion when it comes to these type of deals, and today we're going to go through that history. Let's first turn the clock back to 1999, the second year of the Diamondbacks' existence. Fresh off a widely expected losing season in their inaugural campaign, the 1999 squad shocked many when an infusion of free agent talent launched them into an 100-win record. The hot ticket addition was the aforementioned Randy Johnson, who'd claim his first of 4 consecutive NL Cy Young Awards that year. However, one of their landmark moves that offseason was an expensive 4-year contract worth $32 million for veteran right-hander Todd Stottlemyre. Stottlemyre had experienced some success in 11 years as a big league pitcher up until his stint in the desert. He was never the ace on any team he was on, nor was he ever an all-star, but with Arizona desperate to compete in their immediate window, they pounced on Stottlemyre in an admittedly thin free agent market. But at first, their big-time gamble to shore up their rotation appeared fruitful. Stottlemyre finished his first month in Arizona with a top 10 ERA in the National League among starting pitchers. He faltered in May, then went on the disabled list with a torn rotator cuff after his fastball clocked in at 80 miles per hour on average in his latest start, down over 10 ticks from his average velocity. Stottlemyre wouldn't resurface until September, but he did get the win in the Diamondbacks' first ever postseason victory, throwing 126 pitches to lead a 7-1 victory in the second game of the division series against the Mets. But later on, more shoulder injuries, bone chips in his throwing elbow, and father time in general prevented Stottlemyre from making more than 18 starts in any given season for Arizona. It also caused him to miss the entire 2001 World Series run. Overall, he pitched just 217 innings over 4 years. He pitched to a 4.77 ERA cumulatively, which in turn was a 98 ERA+. The Diamondbacks spent $32 million and only got about 1.3 Baseball Reference wins above replacement out of Todd Stottlemyre. The identity of the team stayed largely the same throughout the 2000s as the franchise enjoyed its most successful era. Arizona posted a winning record 5 years in a row following their first season with 3 playoff berths in this window. But the 2004 season is where everything came crashing down for the first time in their existence. Arizona lost 111 games, one of only 7 teams to that point to lose that many games in a single season since the beginning of the expansion era in 1961. The departure of co-ace Curt Schilling and closer Byung-Hyun Kim, as well as injuries to their best hitters in Luis Gonzalez, Richie Sexson, and Steve Finley, doomed the roster in 2004. After a catastrophically bad season, the front office looked to bring on tons of new faces and kick off a much-needed rebuild. Randy Johnson was traded away to the Yankees for a prospect haul. As for the rotation, the new pitcher behind ace Brandon Webb was going to be Russ Ortiz. His track record to this point was decently impressive. He had started 5 playoff games for the 2002 Giants, who'd come 1 win shy of winning the Fall Classic. The next year, he led MLB with 21 wins for a dominant Atlanta Braves team, making the All-Star team and finishing top 4 in Cy Young voting. Arizona, looking to establish a cornerstone to build around, handed him nearly the exact same deal that they handed Todd Stottlemyre 6 years prior, a 4-year, $33 million contract. But wins and team success aside, there wasn't a ton to like about Ortiz's numbers under the hood. From his debut in 1998 to the year before his Arizona tenure in 2004, he had the second worst walk per 9 rate of any pitcher with over 1,000 innings pitched, trailing only another member of that very rotation in 2005, Sean Estes. Even in the year where he led the National League with 21 wins, he also led the National League with 102 walks issued. These control issues quickly reared their ugly head in Ortiz's second month with the team in May of 2005. In just 28 2/3 innings pitched, Ortiz allowed 50 hits and 26 walks, good for an almost inconceivable whip of 2.65. From the beginning of the expansion era to that point, Ortiz is the only pitcher in MLB history with over 25 innings pitched and a whip that high in a single month. That's right, this month was 1-of-1, historically bad, and he ended 2005 with the third worst ERA in all of baseball among pitchers with at least 100 innings thrown. His quotes going into his second year on the team didn't make fans feel any more hopeful about a potential turnaround. In a preseason interview when pressed about making arsenal changes, he said this to reporters: "Why would I need to change? Why should I feel like I need to redeem myself? Why should I feel the need to go back to the drawing board? I don't need to tweak anything or improve or modify." Believe it or not, this is not the last time this exact quote will be said by an Arizona free agent signing. You'll see. As it stands by B-War, he is the least valuable pitcher in Diamondbacks history at -2.2. Thankfully, the front office finally seemed to learn from their mistakes of overzealous spending on thin free agent markets, and they were very protective of capital spent on pitching moving forward. The Diamondbacks wouldn't have another landmark free agent pitcher contract until 2014, nearly a full decade after signing Russ Ortiz. In an offseason where proven, established starters like AJ Burnett, Bartolo Colon, Tim Hudson, Scott Kazmir, and Hiroki Kuroda were all available, the Diamondbacks went a different route, luring in veteran right-hander Bronson Aroyo on a 2-year, $23 million deal. Just the fourth multi-year free agent contract signed by a starting pitcher with Arizona in their franchise history.
Today is gonna be the day that we're gonna throw back to you.
Aroyo was riding a 9-year streak of making 32 starts every season, the only pitcher in baseball to do so in this window. If nothing else, Aroyo was a workhorse who fielded his position well and wasn't commanding as much money as some of the other pitchers in this robust free agent market. For the Diamondbacks, who weren't quite in a window to contend just yet, this seemed like a perfect fit. So logically, things blew up in their face almost immediately. Aroyo posted the third worst ERA in all of baseball through his first 4 starts, including an outing against the Mets where he surrendered 9 runs in 3 innings of work. But as time went on, Aroyo got more acclimated to his new pitching environment. What makes this signing all the more cruel is that the most dependable and injury-free pitcher in the sport for the past 10 years would hit the injured list for the first time in his 15-year career in June of that season, later learning that he would need Tommy John surgery. This not only ended his 2014 campaign, but sidelined him for all of the next year as well, effectively ending his time as an Arizona Diamondback. To escape his contract, Arizona sent him and a top 5 prospect and Touki Toussaint to the Atlanta Braves in a money dump. Though he had begun the path to redeeming himself, Arroyo's tenure in the desert ended after just 14 starts and a little over half a win in WAR. But unlike their last crushing blow in their free agent track record, Arizona did not wait long to make their next move, which was also their most expensive move to date. Right after a season where he set a modern-day record for the lowest ERA in a single year, the Diamondbacks made Zack Ranky one of the richest starting pitchers in the history of the sport. He signed a 6-year contract worth over $200 million, and his average annual salary of $34.4 million was the highest in baseball history to that point for any starting pitcher. Zack Ranky also asked for an unlimited supply of guacamole, an ownership stake in Chipotle, The Shawshank Redemption on Blu-ray, and samurai swords. He's one of a kind. Zack Greinke's tenure in Arizona is odd because objectively he did not pitch poorly, unlike every other entry in our list today. His debut season got off to a bad start with an ERA over 6 through his first 5 outings, and he turned in an above average year in 2016, then pitched like a true ace for each of the next 3 seasons, even helping the Diamondbacks return to the playoffs in 2017. The contract was certainly a success for Zack Greinke personally, but I don't know if you can call it a wholehearted success for Arizona, and this is for an assortment of reasons. One is that, to put it bluntly, Ranky was a better pitcher before his stint in Arizona and never reached those levels again. Another is his lackluster performances in key postseason outings that contributed to a short playoff run in 2017 for the Snakes. Furthermore, his hefty price tag kept Arizona from continuing to spend in free agency to improve their roster, eventually leading to GM Mike Hazen's desire to trade Greinke and the money on his contract in 2019. Still, I do have a hard time calling this one a bad contract, which is why we won't spend too much time on it. Greinke still ranks top 5 all-time of Diamondbacks pitchers for both ERA and WHIP, up there with all the names you'd expect. There's plenty of room for debate on this contract as to whether or not it was truly worth it. But you know which contract there's no room for debate on as to whether or not it was terrible? Well, the same year that they'd go on to trade Zack Greinke to the Houston Astros, Arizona tried to add another ace to the fold to fill his void. Their answer was southpaw Madison Bumgarner, who agreed to a 5-year deal worth $85 million, the second largest free agent contract in franchise history, history behind only Ranky. At 30 years old going into the 2020 season, Bumgarner's resume to this point was absolutely stacked. At the outset, this contract looked like a bargain of a deal if he could perform to even a fraction of the degree of his previous years. To be fair, he definitely did that, it's just the fraction I think was a lot smaller than anybody expected. Madison Bumgarner's first season with Arizona was not only disappointing, but also shortened. He never managed to complete 6 innings in any of his 9 starts in 2020 and saw his average fastball velocity drop from 90 miles per hour to 86 miles per hour year to year. There was reason for optimism when 2021 rolled around though. He strung together a 5-game streak where he looked like the man the D-backs paid $85 million for. From April 18th to May 11th, Mad Bum allowed just 3 earned runs in 30 innings of work, good for a 0.90 ERA. Second best in all of baseball in this window, trailing only John Means and on par with Jacob deGrom. But whatever good momentum was beginning to form for Bumgarner was derailed almost immediately thanks to the words that came out of his mouth. When pressed about any changes he made during this particularly impressive run for Arizona, Madison Bumgarner remarked that he had actively been ignoring the advice of the team's pitching strategist, Dan Herron. This is the same Dan Herron that pitched a pair of terrific seasons for Arizona back in the 2000s, the same Dan Herron who also had to find ways to beat hitters without crazy velocity, and the same Dan Herron who is still employed by the team now and has helped them develop their rotation of the future. But before he threw Dan Herron under the bus, Mad Bum did say that he didn't want to throw anybody under the bus, and that's got to count for something. Bumgarner had a general reluctance to not accept new ideas and strategies, unwilling to accept that he was no longer the pitcher he was in his 20s. This effectively ended any relationship between Bumgarner and the coaching staff, and unsurprisingly, the good times did not continue to roll when he continued to try flying solo. After his nice run of starts in late April and early May, he pitched to an ERA near 5 in his remaining 18 outings of the 2021 season. Next year didn't get any better. He would pitch the full season, but he pitched to the 5th worst ERA in the National League. They cut bait on their expensive aging southpaw after having paid $37 million already, with $47 million still owed to him throughout 2027. After Mad Bum was finally released in May of 2023, GM Mike Hazen confronted the media to take accountability. He said, "We need to have a better process around our evaluations, a better process of where things stand when we're adding guys to our team." To his credit, Hazen's 2023 roster went on to do great things, shocking the baseball world by claiming the final NL wildcard spot and riding the Magic all the way to the World Series. Naturally, the front office looked to capitalize on a wildly successful season by strengthening the weakness of their team, first with signing lefty Eduardo Rodriguez to a 4-year contract worth $80 million. He started the season on the injured list with a shoulder strain in his throwing shoulder and was activated all the way in August, so he only pitched the last 2 months of the year. When he did pitch, he averaged 5 innings per start and was not the same guy we saw in 2023. And he now hasn't pitched 160 innings in a season since 2019. They bookended their active offseason by winning the Jordan Montgomery sweepstakes, guaranteeing him $25 million in 2024 with a vesting option for the next year. With an ERA well over 6, Arizona actually moved him to the bullpen as a long reliever. Not only did Arizona's ownership badmouth the contract, they're openly shopping the contract as well, looking to trade Montgomery this offseason, so who knows where he ends up in 2025.
Hi everyone, it's me again, from a different location this time. The Eduardo Rodriguez and Jordan Montgomery contracts were an utter disaster in year 1. We'll see about Erod. He's been a good pitcher before and there's still 3 years left on that deal, and it looks as though he's part of the plans in 2025 for Arizona. Jordan Montgomery, on the other hand, he's actively being shopped, badmouthed by the owner. That tenure looks over. When I recorded this script, I decided I was going to wait until a later date when Jordan Montgomery was eventually traded to make the video so I could complete his segment. So this video was actually recorded back in October, and now here I am in January recording this part, because this happened. I don't know about you, I didn't have it in the cards for Arizona to sign Corbin Burnes to a 6-year deal. I know that they were the mystery team for Zack Ranky back when that happened, but this came completely out of left field, considering that Burnes had a ton of suitors that made a ton of sense. Corbin Burnes has been a great pitcher for a while. He's won a Cy Young, he's performed in the playoffs, and I still believe that he was the best pitcher on the market in 2024/2025. And honestly, this is the perfect way to end this video because I feel as though his contract might turn out to be great, which would make the bookmarks of Arizona's free agent starting pitcher pursuits Randy Johnson and Corbin Burns, with a whole lot of controversy and mediocrity in between. So I guess holding off on this video was accidentally one of the smarter things I've ever done. Arizona fans, I hope you're really excited for the future because this rotation looks like it's going to be dominant. And if you watch the video to the end, I appreciate you going through all the agony. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the Jolly Olive channel. Thank you guys for supporting me as always, and let's hope 2025 is an even better year than 2024. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys next time.